John, we just received an email from the union representing the Canadian postal workers, and they say negotiations continue today. Where are you all in these negotiations? How far apart are you from getting people back at work?
Well, we remain at the table. We were at the table late yesterday. Talks have continued and will continue, and that's our commitment. We've been at the table for the last few months with fair offers where we need a new delivery model that's a little bit more flexible so that'll allow us to compete in the parcel business and grow that. That means more affordable weekend delivery and things like that the Canadians expect. And it's kind of a status quo in the parcel business, but we can't provide that today. But then we provided 11.5% over 4 years in terms of wage increases. We're protecting job security provisions, so people have job security, as well as maintaining their defined benefit pension plan. So we're trying to protect and enhance what is important to our employees, but also looking to the future and how we can grow our parcel business.
One of our colleagues in Montreal who's on a picket line just spoke to a Canadian postal worker, a union representative, who said that Canada Post removed health benefits as soon as the union said they were giving the strike notice, and they said Canada Post is showing Canadians their true colors and not supporting the workers who are making sure the packages and the letters get out to people. How do you respond to that concern?
I would say that it's incredibly disappointing that the Canadian Union of Postal Workers decided to put a national strike in place, essentially shutting down the nation's postal service. They are denying service to Canadians right across the country. And the farther you get out, there's remote and rural and northern communities that rely on the postal service, especially the businesses too these days that are in the holiday period and counting on Canada Post. So our commitment all along was to continue negotiating, and if they wanted to do rotating strikes, well, we would continue to operate as best as possible. But we understand, but we have no choice but to try and reduce our costs because the union has essentially put up a close sign in our operations for now during the busiest season.
Well, the workers are saying that they simply don't make enough wages, that the cost of living has increased so dramatically. And while they're not getting the increases they want, and they say Canada Post keeps talking about deficits, senior members of Canada Post keep getting bonuses. Does that seem right to you?
Well, the union understands that there is one thing called the bonus at Canada Post. It's called the corporate team incentive. They're part of it and hasn't paid out since 2011. Also, for management, our salary bands have been frozen for 10 years. Also, the changes we're looking for in terms of defined contribution pension plan for employees with CUP-W, we put that in place 15 years ago, and 60% of our employees are on the defined contribution pension plan. So we've been taking the differences with management, and if you look at the offer, our current employees don't lose anything. They maintain their defined benefit pension plan, the gold standard in Canada, their job security, and the wage increases we put forward are above inflation, but also that we can afford. We've lost $3 billion in the last 5 years. Mail volumes have declined by almost 70% over the last 20 years, and we're losing in the parcel business because we're not competitive. So we've got to put forward a plan and a proposal that we can afford and will allow us to grow and then invest more and more, but right now we're not in that position.
Can I ask you about the status of Canada Post beyond this current strike? As you said, you're losing money. People are not relying on Canada Post the way they used to years ago. Is there a failure of imagination? I mean, what is the ultimate solution here? Let's say that these negotiations come to a conclusion and people get back at work. It doesn't solve your bigger problem that you're losing money.
We've been upfront and honest with Canadians all year trying to explain the situation that we're in, and obviously it goes above and beyond any discussions we're having at the table. We need to make real changes. We're working with the government today. We have a regulatory regime that's built for mail, not for parcels. It's dated, and we need to make some real changes. But the danger is the more this goes on, the more we can't make the kinds of changes we need to fix the postal system, the smaller we become and the more we become taken over by large international delivery companies and retailers that are only going to serve the urban centers. We're here to serve all of Canadians, whether you live in the far north or in an urban center. We want to continue to do that. We think we can do that, but we need to sit and look at the future with CUP-W, and so far they've been more interested in trying to protect the past that sadly doesn't exist anymore.
John, before I let you go, let me ask you about this other concern that people are going to start relying, if this strike continues on other services to get their packages out to their customers or to their loved ones, there is a distinct possibility that they may not return to Canada Post. What is this doing to the organization's reputation? This is a public service.
Oh, this is killing us. And ever since the union put out their strike mandate on October 25th, our parcel volumes have been in decline. Last week alone, as we were still talking, our parcel volumes were down 28%. That's 1.3 million parcels that went to the competition because we can't provide certainty. Now we're shut down and the unions put a close sign in our facilities. So we need to ensure we can get back to the table, which we are. But the unions decided to take a national strike, which is an aggressive action. That's their choice. But they've shut down postal service for Canadians at a time when they need us, at a busy time, and it's just going to worsen our situation, and that's just the reality.
And just a programming note, we have reached out to CUPW, the union representing Canadian postal workers. Hopefully we will get an interview with one of their representatives very shortly. But Jon Hamilton, in the meantime, thank you so much for making time for us today. I want to bring in Jan Simpson. She is the national president for the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. Jan, thank you for making time for us.
Thank you for inviting me to be here today.
Jan, I just want to read to you a letter we have received from Media Relations at Canada Post saying the threat of a strike has already had significant negative impact on our business, meaning Canada Post. With today's national strike by CUPW, we are essentially shut down until further notice. As a result, we've informed employees that their expired collective agreements are no longer in effect and their terms and conditions have now changed as allowed under the Canada Labour Code. Can you translate that for me? What does that mean?
Well, I think Canada Post best is to translate that for themselves. But for us, they've canceled benefits for workers. They're laying off workers currently right now, and they're operating basically under the code. So they've canceled annual leave, which they should not be doing, and other leaves that are in our collective agreement and provisions that are there as well.
But at the same time, I understand you all are still at the negotiating table. So where do things stand on that?
Well, we are at the table because we know the best way to get a collective agreement in place is when both sides negotiate the contract, not being arbitrated by the government.
Okay, so is there any progress being made?
Well, we're trying our best to get there, but right now we're fighting for fair wages, to retire with dignity, to improve health and safety, and also to expand services at the post office. So right now we're kind of far apart, but we're trying our best to get to a negotiated contract.
Now, we spoke to Jon Hamilton, the spokesperson for Canada Post, just a short time ago, and he said that had you all in the union accepted what was being offered, the employees would have lost nothing. There would have been increases to the wages. And this is as much as they can afford. He said Canada Post keeps losing money year after year, and this strike is currently killing them as it stands right now. So what's your response to that?
Well, Mr. Hamilton knows very well that Canada Post, prior to the negotiations, they called what they did call strategic investing to try to grow the company to compete against the other logistics companies that deliver parcels as well. There's no need for workers to pay for mismanagement. And Mr. Hamilton knows that during COVID, postal workers kept the economy going. And we actually negotiated a contract and did what was called a renewal that was at a lesser weight than what inflation was. And we were advised that this round of bargaining that workers would be able to catch up, and this has not happened. So, what Mr. Hamilton's saying is not accurate whatsoever, because how can you accept a contract that still has many outstanding issues from previous rounds? Health and safety issues, that, they're coming after the pensions, the wage increase that they're offering does not let anybody catch up. But yet Canada Post management, they're getting their bonuses still.
What does Canada Post need to do to survive? Because it seems that they've sort of missed the boat and the world is moving forward in terms of parcel delivery and they just haven't kept up with the times. What's your sense on that?
Well, Canada Post has the ability they want to deliver parcels on the weekend. They already have the ability to do that. And we have been coming to the table to try to work with them to help them grow their business.
We heard from Stephen McKinnon, the federal labor minister, a little while ago, and he said at this time the government's main concern is facilitating ongoing negotiations. So he did not say anything about binding arbitration. Are you comfortable with that position, or would you like to see the government do more?
Well, we began bargaining with Canada Post over a year ago, and it's taken this long. But, for us, and we know that anytime you can negotiate a contract at the table with both sides there, it's a lot better. Whenever you go to arbitration, you have issues that carry over to the next round of bargaining and create tension for the next round. So for us right now, we're at the bargaining table trying to address the issues of our members, the Canadian public, as well as Canada Post.
Jan, if you, as you mentioned off the top of our conversation, if your benefits are being pulled back and your annual leave and vacation are being taken away, and this is not, according to you, in compliance with the Canadian Labour Code, then should the federal government not get involved, at least on that point, to straighten that out?
Well, we have the grievance process that can take care of that. So for us, the priority needs to be negotiating at the bargaining table so we can get back to work and get all these benefits back that workers deserve, and also get the mail moving for the Canadian public.
Okay. You guys are on a full strike right now. There was the option of having rotating strikes so that at least some of the system would keep moving. I wonder how long will you all be able to keep going with the strike, particularly not only for the rest of us as we're heading into this busy holiday season, but so are all of you and your incomes that will be required as you're heading into Christmas time and the holidays. I just wonder, how long can we keep going like this?
The members give us a very strong strike mandate, but as you said, we're still at the bargaining table trying to bargain a collective agreement, and that is our priority to get this done so that everybody can have some relief and get back to, the normal way of life.
Are you optimistic?
Because we have two great bargaining committees at the bargaining table right now, and I'm hopeful that Canada Post will bring people to the table who are experts and escalate to that level as well so that we can get this done. Because I know my side, I'm very confident that if given the ability, they'll be able to get a great collective agreement that meets the needs of workers, as Canadians, as well as the company.
Jan Simpson, thank you very much for your time.